Sometimes as a creator, you get lucky with content, and my last video on why I cancelled my Xbox Game Pass couldn't have hit at a better time, as Microsoft, in their infinite wisdom, decided that was the moment to damage the one thing Game Pass had going for it: its value for money.
Most illogical.
Game Pass Ultimate was a great deal at $14.99, $19.99 USD, and in this current era of streaming and subscriptions, we are all familiar with the yearly price hike. But Microsoft set an increase of 50% to $22.99 or $29.99 USD. Given my last video, their timing appears to be questionable to say the least. On the back of this, rumours of this being the end of the Xbox consoles have already started to circulate. But is this all part of Microsoft's long game?
I'd like to share a revelation that I've had.
First things first, this price hike is no joke. If we look at general costs, particularly of PC games, as they are generally cheaper, the new $30 Ultimate price really does seem to capitulate the market to Steam. What I mean here is that the average price of a game on Steam is $15 to $20, with the bigger titles being far more in line with the consoles at $50 to $70. In approximate terms, this means 2 months of Game Pass Ultimate is now the equivalent of buying one AAA title on Steam. So as long as there are 6 or less AAA games you want to play in a year, not an issue for me at the moment, Steam is now as, if not more, cost effective than Game Pass. Yes, you don't get access to the library of Game Pass games for free, but when is the last time you really went through the library and picked a game that wasn't one of the bigger, more popular titles? I would argue that most people scan through the library and then go back to the Master Chief Collection or the latest big release title. And equally, let's remember that the big titles, if they're not an Xbox exclusive, usually come out around a year after their original release. So you can either buy the game on Steam, or you're waiting to play it on Xbox Game Pass. Equally, there's a big selection of games for under $10, playable demos, and a massive back catalogue of old games on Steam. So what is going on at Xbox? Why this harakiri move? Well, Legendary Drop's video on the subject, link in the description, really hit home for me. And I think he's right. The conclusion that I have come to from watching his and other creators' videos is that Xbox is essentially dead. I touched on this in my last video, but even I didn't want to really see it, as I still remember when Xbox was the brand by gamers for gamers. However, what's happened is that Microsoft has consumed the soul and spirit of Xbox and turned it into another corporate product. Again, I made a similar statement previously, where I said in the video that Xbox and Microsoft was a place where studios and IP go to die. But I failed to realise until now that actually Xbox already died, probably with that failed launch of the Xbox One, and while people tried to stop it, the corporate blob at Microsoft consumed it. Looking back, the very failure of the Xbox One, the pre-owned games fiasco, was a result of Microsoft trying to push the market towards a more centralised ownership model. A problem that's since been solved for them thanks to digital downloads. Moreover, thanks to my day job, I'm pretty familiar with various cloud and software subscriptions, all of which have performance and price tiers, as well as similar upselling language designed to encourage businesses to buy the more premium option. So when I saw the monetization changes, particularly the details around the cloud gaming speed limitations hidden in the small print of each tier, combined with the new naming conventions, the pieces all started to fall into place, and I started to see similarities. This is no longer about making money in the short term, it's about controlling the assets in the long term. The assets in this case being the games, the methods of access, and the quality. Control this, and you can push customers to join your infinite subscription model, which looks great for your shareholders. This is bang on the current trend of everyone chasing their version of the Netflix model, and looks almost identical to Microsoft's current software licensing packages. Additionally, I think it's well known that Microsoft has been pursuing a purely cloud-based gaming solution for some time. And to be honest, if you've ever tried out the xCloud offering, they're pretty much there. Factor in that the Xbox, even with Game Pass, has finished third in the last 2 generations of consoles, that they are yet to get a return on the purchase of Activision and Bethesda, and I think there's a very good chance that the rumours hinting that Xbox won't be making a new console are true. And why would they if their end goal is cloud gaming? If that's their plan, it might also be in their interest to cost people out of the physical hardware market, to push them towards the monthly subscription model. Hence, no hesitation to jump on the $80 game bandwagon, and the Series X being the most expensive console on the market, despite being well and truly in third place. Think about it. Developing a console comes at a huge cost for a relatively small margin, if any. And cloud computing is something Microsoft very much understands, as they own and operate a large number of the world's biggest data centers. So if they can turn any TV with a decent internet connection into a console and get customers to sign up to a cloud gaming subscription, aka the all-new and improved Gamepass, why wouldn't they? I think they absolutely would. And what happens if or when they manage to get Sony and Nintendo to offer their subscription on their consoles? Modern day Microsoft doesn't innovate, it consumes and monopolizes, buying any company or product that threatens or may increase their market share. Haven't we basically already seen the start of this in the gaming industry with the acquisition of Bethesda and Activision Blizzard? A strange saving grace is that thankfully the AAA market is so unbelievably useless at the moment, and Microsoft is so bought into woke business practices, it will be a good few years before they can turn things around. Disney and their attempts at a streaming service shows too that even deep pockets doesn't guarantee success, but Microsoft have very deep pockets. And if Legendary Drops is right, and I think he might well be, they have been planning this since the launch of the Xbox One. So we might be safe now, but that is no guarantee for the future. If they can corner the market and control the assets, they will. And if they do, they will monetize it in every possible way. If we look at streaming, we can probably guess what a Microsoft-controlled future would look like. A number of performance-based subs, limiting players not by their internet connection or hardware, but by what they can afford to pay. Topped off with a free-to-play model where you have to watch adverts before or during your games. Hell, Ubisoft have already been caught trying to push these kinds of practices. Anyway, maybe this has gone into the realms of conspiracy theory, but we seem to live in a world full of them at the moment, and the only difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is time. Be wary and vote with your wallets, or it might not be long before we are all yearning for the days of physical releases and no internet required. Anyway, rest in peace Xbox, and as always, Erebus.